Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. In this lecture we are going to have the second part of the inferential statistics. We discussed in the first part. In the previous lecture we discussed the hypothesis testing and we discussed the p-value, whether to accept or reject the null hypothesis based on this value. And we said that inferential statistics are the association tests or the tests among different variables. You assess two or more variables together to find association or relationship or a cause effect and so on. We said that we study these associations between variables through tests that were called tests of statistical significance. Okay, in this lecture we are going to discuss what do we mean by tests of statistical significance and what are the commonly used types of tests. These are the tests done to assess the association among variables, just like we said in the previous lecture. Tamam? And these tests generate a p-value. This p-value, we use it to either accept or reject the null hypothesis. يعني to either we say that there is association or there is difference, or we say that there is no association or there is no difference based on the p-value as we discussed. Okay, these tests are done to prove that the results of association between variables were not due to chance. That's why these tests generate a p-value, and we said that the p-value, when it's less than 0.05 or equal to 0.05, this means that these associations are real, are not due to chance. But if the p-value is more than 0.05, this means that this association might be due to chance. يعني بس صدفت كده أنه الحاجات دي تطلع بتأثر على بعض، لكن التأثير ده not significant, not statistically significant. طيب, we do that based on the tests we use. تمام. each test كنا generates a p-value عشان نعرف بيها association that is statistically significant or it's not statistically significant and it might be just due to chance. These tests compare variables to one another and give you the p-value, just like we just said, and allow you to know whether these associations among variables are statistically significant, اللي هو when the p-value equals or less than 0.05, or these associations among variables had occurred by chance, or meaning that they are not statistically significant, and this when the p-value is greater than 0.05. Okay, these tests are done through programs just like the SPSS and other different programs. تمام, ما حاجة بتتعمل manual ولا كده. Okay, these tests of association, causation and difference are more than 10 tests, but the most common types used in the scientific studies in our field are the Chi-Square Test and the regression test. These are the most commonly used types of tests to assess association between variables. Okay, we are going to discuss each one of these two types. Okay, the first type we said is called chi-square test. Chi-square test. This test is done to assess association between variables when they are both categorical variables. When the two variables are categorical variables. Categorical variables mean that they are not numbers. تمام؟ They are not numbers. They are either collected as names يعني in a numerical scale or collected as ranks, the ordinal scale. Okay, these types of variables are called categorical variables, as we know. تمام. If we want to assess يلا two or more variables and these variables are all categorical variables, we use the chi-square test to assess the association among these variables. Okay, we come and clarify this through an example. نحن من الأول قلنا أنه the tests of statistical significance or the inferential statistics كلها generally يعني assess variables together. يعني الفرق بين قلنا وبين بين descriptive statistics أنه inferential assess the variables together. تشوف association between variables together. عشان كده دايما بيكون assessment between two or more variables انت تقدر تشوف في علاقة بيناتهم or not. تمام. طيب في الكاي سكوير تيست we said that the two variables or more than two variables are categorical variables. طيب the example مثلا for example assessment of the association between gender of patients and mortality. تمام. جينا سألنا سؤال زي ده. We said that we want to assess the association between gender of patients and mortality. Okay. أول شي مما أشوف association, this means that we need an inferential statistics and we need a test of statistical significance because we want to assess variables together. يعني عايزين نشوف في association between these variables or not. طيب عرفنا أنه والله هنستخدم one of the tests. طيب we said that the chi-square when the two variables or the more than two variables are categorical variables. طيب نجي ل our example تاني. Our example قال association between gender and patients mortality. تمام. collect the gender معروف هو collected as males و females and we know that this is a nominal scale and this means that this variable is a categorical variable, it's not a number. تمام. طيب عرفنا the first variable ده categorical. طيب the second variable هو المورتاليتي اللي هو whether the patient is deceased or whether the patient is alive. Okay, and this is as well is a nominal scale, meaning that this is a categorical variable as well. طيب عرفنا أنه these two variables we want to assess together, meaning that we will choose an association test, a test of statistical significance. Okay, then we came and see the types of variables that we are assessing together. In this example, the types of variables that we are assessing are the gender and the mortality. Okay, نجي نشوف each type of these variables. جينا شفنا ال age is a categorical variable، وجينا شفنا mortality is a categorical variable. طيب association between categorical variables is done through chi-square test. تمام. In this case we will choose the chi-square test to assess the association between these variables. تمام. This is how we select the proper test to conduct for your inferential statistics. تمام. As we said, these tests are done through SPSS or يعني statistical programs and generate a p-value. Each association أو comparison test كده generates a p-value. تمام. The results are presented in a table and the p-value is mentioned.
صلي على محمد صلي على محمد
Based on this p-value, we either determine that there is association or there is no association. Okay? طيب, now we come to the second type of test of statistical significance اللي هو called regression. Okay? Regression is the test used to establish causation and prediction of the outcome and its factors. طيب, what do we mean by that? We mean that we use the regression test when we want to predict the outcome. يعني عندنا factors كده بتأثر لنا على outcome معين and we want to assess are these factors يعني true causes of the outcome or not. تمام. أو we want to predict the outcome based on these factors. Okay, ودي كلهم هم variables نحن we assess together. تمام. The common types of regression analysis. الريجريشن ذاته have many types. Okay, linear regression and logistic regression. Okay, we come and explain each one and give examples for each type in order to differentiate it from the chi-square test. Okay, we have the first type of regression called linear regression. What does that mean, or which data this test يعني assesses or uses? It's used when the outcome variable is a continuous variable. When the outcome variable is a continuous variable. طيب, the outcome variable ده شنو؟ ده is the variable that we want to assess ودارين نعرف أنه this variable يعني affected by other variables or not. تمام؟ دارين نشوف أو to predict أو to assess the causes اللي هي affecting this variable. الvariable ده we call it outcome variable. طيب, when we know or we define the outcome variable بنيجي نشوف التايب بتاعه is it a continuous variable or not. if it's a continuous variable collected يعني as a number. Okay, then we use for the prediction and the causation we use the linear regression test. Okay, the linear regression test has two types. تمام، احنا قلنا based on the outcome variable. If it's a continuous variable we say that this is a linear regression. Okay, طيب the linear regression itself that عنده two types اللي هو simple linear regression و multiple linear regression. Simple linear regression when we have one factor variable. يعني احنا قلنا regression is used to establish causation and prediction among variable, outcome variable and its factor. Let me go back to the slide. Okay, in this slide. Okay, طيب based on the type of the outcome variable we either define the type يعني we either choose the linear regression or the logistic regression. We said that if the outcome variable is a continuous variable then we will choose the linear regression test. طيب then we come to the factors. نحن قلنا regression is used to establish causation and prediction of the outcome variable and its factors. بنجي يلا we come and see the factors أو the variables that are the factors. If there is only one factor that we want to see its difference أو يعني its effect on the outcome variable we say that this is a simple linear regression لأنه في one factor أو one predictor. Okay, if it's more than one factor يعني multiple factors affecting an outcome ده أو affecting an outcome variable we say that it's a multiple linear regression test. Okay, طيب نحن نلخص الكلام ده بشنو أو نثبته كيف بإكزامبل. طيب نحن نفهم الموضوع ده كيف هنشوف هسه في الإكزامبل ده together. We have a study فيها the test scores of students. Okay, they were قال لك assessed and the associated factors such as study hours, sleep hours, duration of lectures were also collected for the study. Okay, يعني نحن we are assessing شنو؟ we are assessing the test scores of the students based on what? Based on which factors? Based on the study hours, the sleep hours, the duration of lectures. Okay, we want to predict the test scores for students. تمام. طيب هو هنا قال لنا prediction. مما نلقى prediction okay أو assessing the causes related to the outcome variable. This means that this is a regression test. Once you find causation أو prediction تمام في البيربوس أو في السؤال this means that this is a regression test. كده خلاص نحن فرزناه من الكاي سكوير تيست. كاي سكوير تيست to assess association in general. لكن if we want to assess causation or prediction we use the regression. Okay, طيب هنا هو قال لنا we want to predict the test scores based on the factors above اللي هما the factors were the study hours, the sleep hours and the duration of lectures. تمام. طيب نحن لما لقينا prediction دي عرفنا انه this is a regression test. طيب which regression test? which type of regression؟ الريجريشن ذاته مع انواع. طيب the first step بنجي نشوف the outcome variable. تمام. نرجع للكيس بتاعتنا او الاستادي بتاعتنا. قال لك التست scores were assessed based on these factors. اوكي. طيب then this means that the outcome variable هو التست score.
صل على محمد
is the test scores variable continuous or categorical. التست scores دي هي درجات degrees. تمام. this means that it's a continuous variable. تمام. because the degrees are numbers. okay. then at this point we know that this is a regression, and which type? A linear regression. okay. طيب now we come and see the factors or the predictors. Is it one predictor or more? We have the study hours, the sleep hours, and the duration of lectures. يعني we have 3 factor variables. This means that it's a multiple linear regression. okay, based on this we can finally say that the best test to be used for such study is the multiple linear regression test to develop a model and predict the test scores of students based on their study hours, sleep hours, and duration of lectures. okay.
صل على.
now we come to the second type of regression. We said that regression is divided into 2 types: linear regression and logistic regression. okay. We discussed the linear regression, and now we are going to discuss the logistic regression. Logistic regression is used when the outcome variable is a categorical variable. يعني this is the difference between logistic regression and linear regression. The difference is in the outcome variable. If it's continuous, this means it's a linear regression. If it's categorical, this means we use a logistic regression. no? The logistic regression, just like the linear regression, has 2 types: the simple logistic regression and the multiple logistic regression. Just like the linear regression, if it's one factor, this means that it's a simple logistic regression. If it's more than one factor, it's a multiple logistic regression. We come to the example. If we have a study about the knowledge of students about COVID-19 infection, okay, was assessed as good or poor. يعني we assessed the knowledge of students we collected the measurements as good or poor. okay. And the factor variables were collected, such as age of students, watching news or not, reading about COVID-19. okay. These are our factors. طيب we want to predict the knowledge of students about COVID-19 infection from the factors above. Which test is the best to be used. أساسا مما قلنا when we want to predict or to assess the causes related to a specific outcome, this means it's a regression test. Okay. طيب which type of regression test? We go أول شيء, the first step, we go and define our outcome variable. In this study, we want to assess the knowledge of students based on the factors as the age, watching news, and reading about COVID. Okay? In this case, or in this study, the outcome variable that we are assessing or predicting is the knowledge of students. Just like we said, the knowledge of students is assessed based on these factors. طيب, which type of variable the knowledge of students is? Is it categorical or is it continuous? Ma'am, the knowledge is collected as good or poor. This means this is a categorical variable collected in an ordinal scale, means that this is a categorical variable. طيب خلاص عرفنا أنه هو prediction أو assessment of causation. This means it's a regression test. We came and see the outcome variable. Is it continuous or categorical? And we found that it's a categorical variable. طيب prediction test used to predict the outcome variable when it is a categorical variable is logistic regression. يلا, if we want to detail it, whether it's a simple logistic regression test or a multiple logistic regression test, we come and see the number of factors. Is it one factor or more? نجي our study. We have collected and the factor variables were collected as age, watching news, and reading about COVID. Here we have 3 predictor factors. This means that this is a multiple logistic regression. يعني the best test to be used to predict the knowledge of students will be the multiple logistic regression test. Okay. I hope it's clear for you, and we only had these 2 common types. Okay, not to confuse ourselves, the chi-square for association and the regression for causation and prediction. Good luck to you all, and thank you.